Hello everyone, my name is Rachel. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am here to talk about my November reading plans, y'all. November is going to be a crazy month for me reading wise because to start the month off, we have the Fanfiction readathon. I made a completely separate video all about my TBR for that as well as recommendations. So I will definitely have that linked up in the cards above. So yeah, that's starting my month off with a bang for sure. And then we also have the 30 in 30 manga challenge. So I can't remember who exactly created this kind of readathon challenge. But I know the hosts are Shay from Shay Geeks Out, Ashley from Bookish Realm, and I'm blanking on who. There's two other hosts, so I'm gonna definitely have them all linked down in the description. I'm sorry that I can't remember all of you. There's a lot going around in my mind right now. But the challenge is that you read 30 volumes of manga in 30 days. So basically a volume a day. So why don't we actually get into my TBR for that first, and then I'll get into all of the other books that I wanna read in November. So I have this stack of volumes that I own physically, and then I have a ton of other volumes that I want to get to that I don't own as well. But first up, we have Fire in His Fingertips. This is a series, I believe 4 volumes are out at the moment and volume 5 is set to come out soon. I did order all 4 volumes off of Amazon. For a while they were out of stock, but they finally came back in stock, so I have volume 1 here with me. Let me just tell you up front, this is pure smut. It's pure smut. It is a friends to lovers romance, and the synopsis on the back just says Rio tries to set up her strapping fireman friend Soma with a co-worker from her office, but her matchmaking efforts hit a brick wall. It turns out that Soma has the hots for Rio instead, and when a fire breaks out in Rio's apartment, it's Soma who comes to the rescue, and the heat really gets turned up for the fiery couple. So there you have it, and that's what the back looks like. That's so cute. He's like picking out outfits for her. But yeah, I quickly flipped through this and it is just pure smut, and I'm here for it. You know, it's gonna be a fun time. Then we have the next omnibus I have of Full Metal Alchemist. So this is volumes 7, 8, and 9. You guys know this is my most recent manga obsession. This story is just incredible. I love the steampunk vibes. I love the story of like alchemists in general, and the Elric brothers are just everything. And I also love Winry, who's pictured here. I mean, truly, what's not to love about this series? It's absolutely amazing, and I can't wait to read this next omnibus. Then I have 4 volumes of Spy Family. So I have 5, 6, 7, and 8. These are the rest of the volumes that are currently out. Volume 9, I believe, is coming out in March. So I think I'm just gonna binge these 4 volumes and have an amazing time. I'm obsessed with the covers for this series. This is an epic fake found family story. Of course, lots of spy action, but it's also very cozy and adorable. And yeah, absolutely obsessed with this series for sure. And then last but not least, I have 4 volumes of Sailor Moon. I got these volumes a very long time ago. I think I've had these on my shelves since like 2018. I read volume 1 in like 2019, and for some reason I just never continued on. But I mean, it's a story that I know I enjoy. So I figured that for this challenge, I would just read the volumes that I own physically. So there's that. And then I have a bunch of other series that I want to work on this month as well. First of all, we have Sweat and Soap. That is my ultimate favorite romance manga. I don't think anything is going to top that. It's just an incredible series. We have Yakuza Lover, another romance series that I'm just addicted to. So much fun. Night of the Ice. This is a really adorable childhood friends to lovers romance where the hero is a figure skater. Then let's move on to the books that I absolutely need to read in November because they are for book clubs and buddy reads. So first of all, we have A Caribbean Heiress in Paris by Adriana Herrera. So this is our first book for the Blushing Bluestocking Society, which is a historical romance book club that I formed with my really great bookish friend Lisa from Remarkably Lisa. So we are reading this in November. Our live show discussion for this book is going to be November 11th at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time or 8 p.m. Central Time. And yeah, I'm very excited to read this book. This came highly recommended from, I remember Lenora Bell raving about this one when Lisa and I did an author hangout with Lenora and Eva Lee. I will also have that video linked down in the description below because we had so much fun with that interview. I loved how that turned out, and I just love Lenora and Eva with my whole heart. So yeah, obsessed with them. But I don't know much about this book. I just know that it has to do with like a rum heiress, and I believe the hero, he's Scottish, and I believe he works with whiskey. So that's a very interesting pairing. Next up, we have a couple buddy reads. First of all, I have Real by Kennedy Ryan. I am planning on buddy reading this with Victoria. I will of course have anyone that I mentioned in this video linked down in the description below. I highly recommend that you follow Victoria. I love her booktube content. But we both realized that this is a book that has been on both of our TBRs for quite some time, and for some reason we're both intimidated to pick it up. And so if we buddy read it, maybe it'll force us to finally pick it up. This is a book that I know I'm going to love though. It has to do with an actress pictured here. Specifically, she, I believe, is an understudy in a Broadway play, and so she gets to go on that night in the lead role. And our hero pictured here, I believe his name is Cannon. He is a film director, and so he sees her in this role and realizes that she'd be perfect for the lead in his film. And so it's kind of a forbidden romance aspect because, you know, obviously a director and an actor getting together, that's not a great idea. And I've heard that there's great chronic illness representation in this. I mean, we know Kennedy Ryan is going to serve the emotional damage, and I'm ready for it. I also got the audiobook for this one recently, and I've heard that it's just an amazing production, and there's even singing and music and things like that, so that sounds absolutely phenomenal. My next buddy read is going to be Dangerous Duke by Scarlett Scott. I'm buddy reading this with my good friend Ava. So this is book 3 in the League of Duke series by Scarlett Scott. So I read books 1 and 2 a few months back, the first book being Nobody's Duke, which if you've been following me for a while, you would know that that is absolutely one of my favorite historical romances I've read this year. I can't recommend that romance highly enough, especially if you love, again, The Magic by Lisa Kleypas. Totally has those same vibes. So yeah, we just wanted to push each other to continue on with this historical romance series. We both really enjoyed books 1 and 2. Next up, we have In a Jam by Kate Canterbury. I've just heard that this is a spectacular marriage of convenience. It's a contemporary romance where the hero has been in love with the heroine forever, and he's a bit of a grump. And I've seen quotes of this floating around on Twitter and Instagram, and it looks like it's going to be absolutely amazing. Next up, we have It Ain't Me Babe by Tilly Cole. So this is book 1 in a dark romance series surrounding this cult. And basically there are these women that are able to escape a cult, and there is a motorcycle club nearby. And so the heroes in this series are from that motorcycle club, and it's kind of about how they take these women in and they take care of them, and some of them fall in love. And I've just heard really amazing things about this series. It sounds like something that's right up my alley. I find romances that center around cults to be very fascinating, so this just sounds really good. Then we have Call Me Crazy by Melanie Harlow. This is book 3 in her Bellamy Creek series. I read books 1 and 2 some months back and really enjoyed them. These are just really great, sexy, small town romances. I just love that vibe, especially for fall. This one's more of a hate to love situation, and I really loved the dynamic between these two characters in the previous books of this series, so I feel like this one's gonna be a really fun time. Next up, we have Mercy. I believe this is by Deborah Anastasia. Am I right? I might be completely wrong, but this is one that came highly recommended from Brie from In Love in Words. She is someone who I turn to anytime I'm looking for a new contemporary romance because, yeah, her recommendations are just amazing. But this one, I can't remember the plot of this one anymore, but the cover is so cool and she just raved about it, so I knew that I needed to pick it up myself. Then we have Black Sheep. So this is a very interesting romance. I was just watching a video from Tiffany actually right before filming today, where she was giving dark romance recommendations, and hearing her rave about this book makes me so excited to pick it up. I know this is by an author duo. I can't remember their names, but the cover's over here. This is the romance that you're supposed to read if you loved the Mindfuck series by St. Abbey. This is about a heroine who is a serial killer, which is a very interesting dynamic because most serial killer romances you see, it's the hero who's the killer. And Tiffany just raved about this book. This also came highly recommended from Jen from the Book Refuge. Then we have kind of a random pick. This is from Sand and Ash by Amy Harmon. I remember hearing Tori from Novel Life raving about this book some months back. I believe this is one of her, it definitely was one of her favorite romances that she read in 2021. And I think it's one of her favorite romances of all time, if I'm not mistaken. I know she's a big fan of the Amy Harmon books that she has read, and this is one that she has raved a lot about. This one does take place during World War II, so this is a historical romance. And I know we have a hero who is a priest, and I remember briefly looking at the synopsis, but I don't really remember much more than that. I've just heard that Amy Harmon writes amazing, epic historical romances. And what's really cool is that from what I've seen, I think all of Amy Harmon's books are available on Kindle Unlimited, and when you borrow the ebook, you get to borrow the audiobook for free as well, which I love that feature. I wish that more authors and more books were available in that way, just because I'm absolutely obsessed with audiobooks. Next up though, we have Sink or Swim by Masmatic. So I read Smash and Grab earlier this month. These are Dinosaur Shifter romances. They're also novella length. The audiobooks are about 5 hours long. I loved Smash and Grab so much, and I didn't expect to love it as much as I did, but the sense of humor is there, and it was just a really sweet and fun romance as well, with some suspense thrown in. And I've heard that Sink or Swim is like leaps and bounds better than Smash and Grab, which is like insane to me because I already gave that book 5 stars. But yeah, I've heard this is a Grumpy Sunshine romance, and it sounds like it's gonna be a good time. Next up, we have Ellen Warren Gray by Brittany Cherry. I'm just trying to get through more of her backlist. I've read 2 of her books at this point. Behind the Bars is still one of my top favorite romances that I've read this year, and I know that I just need to read more from her, so I thought this would be a really good one to go with. I do have the audiobook for this one as well, which is really great. Next up, we have Faking with Benefits. I am obsessed with these covers that Lily Gold has. I've never seen a Why Choose Romance with this kind of adorable illustrated cover before, and I'm obsessed. But this one, just as the cover depicts, we have a heroine and we have 3 love interests, and I believe this is a fake dating romance, as you can probably tell from the title. And I've been seeing a lot of my friends enjoying Lily Gold's books, so I thought this would be a really good one to start with. Next up, you know, I'm trying to get back into my historical romances, and I really want to read more from Lisa Kleypas. So this month, I am finally reading Marrying Winterborn by Lisa Kleypas. This is book 2 in the Ravenel series. No, I'm not reading book 1 because I have no interest in it. I've heard really not great things about that book, and I've read spoiler reviews, and I just have no interest in reading that book. But this book I've heard is absolutely amazing, and we have a hero who is a self-made man, and he owns a department store. And I love this cover, and it must be a marriage of convenience based on the title and the cover. And yeah, I've just heard nothing but amazing things about this book in particular, and I definitely need to get into the Ravenel series for sure. And then we have Rhapsodic by Laura Thalassa. This is a fantasy romance trilogy. I bought all 3 of the audiobooks in this series like well over a year ago. This series has definitely been on the back burner of my TBR for quite some time. I've been recently rereading the ACOTAR series as a part of the SJM along, and I'll actually get to that in a second. But because of that, I just need more fantasy romance in my life, and I've heard really great things about this one. All I know is that the heroine, I believe, is a siren, and I can't remember what the hero is. He might be Fae, I can't remember, but I've heard that this is just a really interesting series. And then, yeah, last but not least, I have 2 books that I own physically. So the first one is A Court of Frost and Starlight by Sarah J. Maas. This is the book that we are reading in November for the SJM along, like I just mentioned a minute ago. This is a read along where we've been reading or rereading all of Sarah J Maas's books in publication order, and I've just been having such a great time doing that, revisiting these worlds and these characters again. And yeah, this is just a fun little winter novella. I had a really good time with this the first time that I read it. I gave it 4 stars, and I don't expect that rating to change, and I'm really happy that I have this really pretty original cover. And then last but certainly not least, I have The Reigning and the Rule by Kalia Reed. So this is book 2 in the Surviving Trace series. So I read The Surviving Trace about a week or 2 ago. I'm absolutely obsessed with that book. This is a time travel romance where we have our main character Serene, and she ends up time traveling to 1912 and falling in love with a man from that time, ATN. But meanwhile, she has a fiance in her own time. There's definitely a lot of angst and a lot of suspense, given that we never know when Serene is going to time travel from one time to another. And so yeah, I'm obsessed with this story, and the writing was absolutely fantastic in book 1, so I can't wait to see how this story continues in The Reigning and the Rule. Plus, the covers for this series are absolutely stunning. So that is going to be it for my November TBR. Do I think I'm gonna read all of the things that I just talked about? Probably not, like, let's be real for a second, but I have a lot of options depending on my mood in November. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Definitely leave a comment down below if you want to discuss any of the books that I brought up in this video, if you want to give me recommendations, anything like that. I am very excited about this coming month reading wise for sure. I would also love it if you would leave a like and subscribe, and I thank you so much in advance if you do, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!